Yeah, I'm good. Sorry, I'm just throwing.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Monday, July 24th, to our regular session of the council. I'd like to go ahead and call it to order with the invocation led by Councilwoman Karen Angelou, and Pledge of Allegiance also led by Ms. Angelou.
Thank you. Heavenly Father, be with us this evening. You know what's broken can be mended, what hurts can be healed, and no matter how dark it gets, the sun is going to rise again. As we work this evening, we pray that our decisions are wise and that our godly faith will mend the broken, heal the hurts, and rise the sun tomorrow. We ask in your name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Let's go ahead with the roll call, please.
Angelou,
Here.
Bowers,
Here.
McGregor,
Here.
Padova,
Here.
Renner,
Here.
Schnetzer.
Here.
Weaver is absent.
All right, Ms. Bowers, you had a request for a moment of silence.
I did. If everyone would join me and stand for a moment of silence, please, as we recognize and pay our respects to the passing of Nancy King, the wife of Reverend Joel King. Mrs. King was a pillar of our community who brought friendship to all. She was an incredible partner with her husband, who worked deeply in our community and in their church. Please join me in a moment of silence to reflect on Mrs. King. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, item B, additions or corrections to our agenda. Do we have anything?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I was requesting to remove 2 items off of the consent agenda. The motion authorizing the Director of Public Service to enter into contract and waive competitive bidding, I believe that's MT 14-2023. And the second item is the repeal and replace regarding the sidewalk program, just so that we can have a brief discussion. Ordinance 54-2023.
Ordinance 54, 2023. Okay, for second reading, so then it'll be moved. Are there any discussion? I'm sorry. Let's just solve this. So MT 14, 2023. Jeremy, what's our
After
heading for that?
consent. After consent.
Right after consent? So that'll be the new E? Okay, and then,
Then we can do our first reading and
right,
then
that would be the ordinances. F is now, ordinances for introduction, first reading will be section F. And then a new section for ordinance 54, 2023, since that is on for second reading. That'll be G. And then correspondence and actions will be H, and so forth. Has everybody got that? Okay, are there any other additions or corrections to our agenda? All right, moving on. Hearing of visitors. I do have one speaker slip, Miss Brenda Hoffman. Per our rules, please state your name and address for the record. I don't think that's on. I'm sorry, Ms. Hoffman. I don't think that's on.
Okay, I got a kind of a doofus situation here because I was studying at the table here for an hour before you guys came in. My suggestion is I think most of you know the story of what happened with us with the sidewalks. We got nailed for bad sidewalks, and then we had a fight with code enforcement, and then we found out we were written up for code enforcement for the placement of sidewalks under commercial code, and there was no residential. And ORC came in 1962, but Gahanna didn't really honor that. We didn't give you the scope of the work, the cost of the work, the dates of the work. We weren't doing ORC, and obviously we haven't been doing ADA, and we haven't been doing ProWag, and we did not have a transition plan no matter what anybody tells you. We had one receipt for those truncated dots. So I had this big, long, constant mess with sidewalks. And I was really happy to see the sidewalk program come into being. Now, when we were started with this in 2019, before Lori came in office, 2020 was a horrible year for her. She couldn't do it. West Side fecal E. coli threat in the basements. Okay, we're behind. We've been behind all along, but it's the first time, and things happen. I'm really, really mad about whoever Beavis, I call him Beavis, in other words, messed up for this year with a 15-year-old street map. I'm street program map. I'm ticked, and I've had fights with engineers here. I've been lied to, practically spit on. I've been told I don't know what I'm talking about when I have the Federal Register in one hand, copies of lawsuits in other cities for exactly what I'm saying, and I got Rob Priestis in my face saying, that only applies to cubicles. And it's been like this, and I'm not you, not your co-part either, not Mr. Comlack, but every single time I've had to deal with engineering, I've been looked in the face, with the exception of Caitlin and the exception of Angela Roth. Every single time I've interfaced with any of those engineers, I've been lied to, or I've had a problem, or I don't get a return phone call, or I send my information off to that little ADA here, building, and I don't get a response. And I call Moorhead, and he tells me, go to the website, check out the frequently asked questions. Well, guess what? I was supposed to have a letter for my sidewalks in February. And when did I get it? July 7th. When did my sidewalk have to be poured by? October 1. And a lot of people are really ticked off that they did not get to have their sidewalks, driveways, everything match. Because they were under the impression, because of me talking to this group and the administration about, we'll work with you. And it doesn't work that way, guys. It didn't work that way. A lot of people wanted to have an opportunity on the opt-in to have more time to opt in. And the reason for that was because when you hire a newcomer, that's a big company. They got a lot of resources. When we hire small businesses in our community, my guys, 3 different companies, we leave, we go to Florida. Before we go, we wrote estimates. The first 3 months of next year's pour time after it's 40 degrees overnight, we're booked. So if we look at what are these proposed dates, we're already behind. So I just found out that Mr. Comlack is already working on this, but given what I went through, I don't want anybody else going through this. It's just horse poop. We need to give the people their information. Everybody needs to know what it is that's wrong, what panels, this is just an estimate, whatever. And then give the people that are in this upcoming program a year, and then you bring your contractor with all the resources in, and you let them fight for the frost line. Because if I have to pay for somebody to put concrete in my property, I'm going to have to pay for heat blankets if I'm coming up against that October frost or November frost, or if I'm coming up against, late winter storm. It happens. We have below 40, at night in May. And I'm thinking, why are we putting the hardest part of the calendar year against our residents? That's point 1. Point 2 is absolutely under no circumstance do I want you to extend a 0-interest loan to a commercial organization, they can pay at least 4%, and that's a bargain. Those are businesses. 90% of this program is us, the residents. And I'm not saying those business owners aren't residents, but look at what the majority of the business is. It's these large buildings like Casto Communities. It's these large, shopping centers. So that's it. That's all I have to say. I'm sorry, but I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Van Meter, that is the only speaker form I have. Are there any others?
No others.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. All right, moving on. Item D, consent agenda. Do I have a motion to pass and adopt the consent agenda as modified?
So moved, Mr. President.
I have a first by Mr. Snetzer. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Ms. Padova. Any discussion? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Schnetzer,
Yes.
Padova,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
McGregor,
Yes.
Renner,
Yes.
Angelou.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Okay, our new item E for MT 0014-2023. Is there a motion to adopt this motion?
So moved, Mr. President.
I have a first by Mr. Snetzer. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Ms. Angelou. Any discussion? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Schnetzer,
Yes.
Angelou,
Yes.
McGregor,
Yes.
Padova,
Yes.
Renner,
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes, Mr. President, I apologize. We are on the motion, MT 14-2023.
Correct.
I had asked that that be moved off of consent so that we could have just a very brief conversation on that. Would you be willing to suspend the vote so that there can be a discussion on that item?
I did call for discussion.
I just didn't speak up fast enough. I apologize.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to, I had a brief conversation with Mr. Schultz, and I know Mr. Schultz was prepared to speak on this item this evening. Thank you, Mr. Schultz.
I'm sorry, I don't, MT is the traffic cabinet, I take it, not
Yes, sir.
the other issue? Okay.
Yes, sir, just the traffic cabinet issue. Yes.
Sure, thank you, sorry.
Yes, thank you.
So I just want to correct a statement that I had made last week in regards to the loop detector in the roadway that needed to be fixed in order to address the left turn signal into the library parking lot. There actually is traffic detection cameras on all four parts of the intersection at the library cabinet. The loop detector is actually down one intersection at, I think it's Lincoln Circle, Shaw Park, and that's the loop detector that is broke, that doesn't function correctly. So the left turn arrow there also needs addressed as well. I do believe, the question I think that Ms. Padova had asked last week was, would the traffic cabinet, the replacement of the traffic cabinet address the issue with the left turn signal in the library? And I believe the answer to that question is yes, or it will be addressed during that particular project as well. Part of the request that Ms. Bowers made this morning in my conversation with her was to investigate the addition of 2 detection cameras at the intersection of Lincoln Circle and Granville there to address any issues pulling into and or out of where the post office would be and or where Coaches or Shaw Park would be, and that's we added that to the list.
Thank you, Director. That resolves the issue. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's resume the vote, and I think we're down to you.
Me, yes, my vote is yes.
Satisfied? Okay. Motion passes. Thank you. The new item F, ordinances for introduction and first reading. We have 1, Ordinance 56, 2023, an ordinance authorizing a supplemental appropriation for general fund streets fund for traffic signal cabinet repairs. Item G, second reading of ordinance ORD 54, 2023. Do I have a motion to adopt said ordinance?
So moved.
I have a first by Ms. Bowers. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Mr. Snutzer. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. President?
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. This was the other item. I think that there was some outstanding conversations following last week's Committee of the Whole discussion. I wanted to thank Mr. Comlank and Director Schultz for your time and in speaking through some of those questions that we had. In my conversation, and I don't want to speak for Mr. Schultz, and as I know he plans on addressing this as well, one of the questions that was raised last week was about considering the addition of sidewalks where there are no existing sidewalks in neighborhoods. And I think, Mr. Schultz, my understanding is that the petition process, so that homeowners, property owners can petition through an ORC, a process established through the Ohio Revised Code to have a sidewalk added, and that what is being proposed by the city would be the same as if a resident was in, from a cost-sharing perspective, would be the same as if the resident was in a sidewalk program, such that the city will be cost-sharing 50% of the cost of that new construction. Is my understanding correct?
So the ORC doesn't have any cost-sharing provision, but the code revision that's before you folks does. Yes, 50% cost share for new installation, petitioned sidewalks for new installation is at a 50% cost share with the city.
Right, and I guess I referenced the ORC so that residents understand that to initiate that process, they would need to follow the process as stated in the Ohio Revised Code to petition for that new build.
Correct.
Okay. And then I know Ms. Padova had some follow-up questions as well.
That's my line. but-
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't want to get anybody skipped over tonight.
Ms. Bedova, do you have anything to add?
I do, thank you. So, Mr. Schultz, bear with me here, as I appreciate, first of all, your efforts in finding the information that I was asking about in regards to Rocky Fork North and the street rebuild that has been communicated to residents over the last few years. So I just want to clarify for the record that passing that street rebuild, since we have already committed to building their sidewalks, they would not be held to that 50% cost share. The city would be covering 100% of the cost of that sidewalk since that project has been postponed and we've already committed to their sidewalks. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
So there is a letter that actually states that to that effect, right?
Yes, we do.
And can you share that with all the council?
Yes, I will.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Are there any other comments on this ordinance? Okay. Jeremy, please roll call.
Bowers,
Yes.
Schnetzer,
Yes.
Padova,
Yes.
Renner,
Yes.
Angelou,
No.
McGregor.
No.
Okay, that's two to, Jeremy, I think you said that
There were
this.
4 yes and 2 no.
Correct. Does that mean that the ordinance fails or just the emergency fails?
Emergency fails.
So the ordinance passes, but there's no emergency.
The emergency is a procedural aspect. It's whether or not it skips the 30-day period. That's in addition to the ordinance. The ordinance is
Okay.
majority.
All right,
For emergency, it takes, in this case, it takes 5 people for
Right.
emergency.
understood. Thank you very much. All right, moving on. Item H, correspondence and action. Mr. Clerk,
Nothing this evening.
thank you. Council colleagues, is there anything? Okay. The new item I, representatives, CIC, I have nothing new to report, and I will have a report next time that we meet. Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission, Ms. Angelou,
We're on vacation.
happy days are here.
They are.
All right, Convention and Visitors Bureau, Ms. Bedova.
Thank you. Reminder that this Wednesday from 5:30 to 7 p.m. is the volunteer picnic for anyone who volunteered for the Creekside Blues and Jazz Festival. So that is behind the Visit Gahanna/Herb Center building at 110 Mill Street. Guests are encouraged to attend the farmers market and midweek at the creek, as that's on Wednesday as well. So the picnic is 5:30 to 7, and they will be presenting checks to the volunteer groups who helped out with volunteered at the the nonprofit groups that volunteered for CBJF. Midweek at the Creek this week is featuring Honey and Blue, and that's from 6 to 8 at the Plaza on Creekside. Visit Gahanna is also helping promote the Gahanna Area Arts Council event, Columbus Symphony, live at Headley Park. That's taking place on Saturday, August 5th at 7 p.m. You can buy tickets at the Gahanna Area Arts Council Facebook page. And the CVB has released a new historical walking tour of Gahanna brochure with some input from the Gahanna Historical Society. This marketing piece includes a brief history of Gahanna and highlights 16 different historic places and sites in Gahanna. The Ohio Herb Center, which is managed by Visit Gahanna, has been busy hosting many sold-out classes and workshops. So far this year, the staff has taught 28 classes with an average of 90% participation, and I believe that a lot of them have been completely sold out. So you can go to the website to see what's coming up next. That's all for me.
All right, thank you. School Board, Ms. Bowers.
Yes, just very briefly, I'd ask people to save the date for September 19th at 6:30. There will be a joint Cities Council School Board meeting to discuss finances, financial funding structures, and revenue sources, and how the school district and the city are funded, and the differences and some of the similarities. I want to thank Director Vollmer, Director Schultz, Director Burry, along with council colleagues and the mayor for attending a meeting with Dr. Deagle, CFO Mr. Gooding, and school board members Burl Pickle-Antonio and Daphne Mehring last week to address this, and I think it will be a good and productive conversation, not just for our respective entities, but for the community at large. Thank you.
All right, thank you. The new item J, official reports. Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I know last week you had an opportunity to be introduced to our new Economic Development Director, Shannon Hammonds. He's here again this evening tonight. I want to thank all of you for giving the affirmative vote for the CRA agreement for Romanoff Electric so that that longstanding Gahanna company can continue to grow and expand here in our city. As Shannon shared with you last week, he brings nearly 30 years of experience in the field of economic development, over 20 years in the public sector, 8 years in the private sector, and I believe his unique skill set already has shown to be a tremendous asset as we continue our competitive momentum in moving the city forward. In addition to business attraction and retention, part of Shannon's focus will also be continuing to move forward the Creekside redevelopment project. And I know he's just in the 2 weeks? Is it 2 weeks now, Shannon? 2 weeks that he's been here. He's had many very positive conversations about that project. So we look forward to seeing all the great things that we're going to be able to accomplish together for the city of Gahanna. To celebrate his official start, we held our annual economic development event on Tuesday, July 11th, which was day number 2 for Shannon. We held that event at the ADB Safegate offices. I appreciate the council members who were able to show up for that event. Trying to remember who was there that day. Councilwoman Angela was there. Councilwoman Padova was there. Thank you very much. And it was, I know ADB Safegate was very proud to be showing off their North American headquarter offices. It was wonderful to showcase that event to members of the development community as well. It's a tremendous development story. Been in Gahanna for 50 years, and we're thinking of leaving the state. And we went from December of 2020 to they were looking to leave Ohio to December of 2021, having a groundbreaking, and now moving into that beautiful new facility right up at the corner of Science and Tech Center Drive. Steve Stivers, former congressman and current president and CEO of the Ohio Chamber, was our keynote speaker. And he actually gave a wonderful presentation on a blueprint for Ohio's economic future. I will send a PDF copy. This is the executive summary to council members, so you can take a look at that. It gives some really interesting information. Basically, what we're talking about is the Columbus region. We really have been in a bubble with the tremendous growth that we're seeing, but that is not necessarily the case throughout the rest of the state. So we talked a little bit about what we are seeing in all four corners of Ohio, but certainly what we can do here in the Columbus region to maximize all of the growth that is happening for our community. Following that event, I was honored to be invited to be a panelist at OB's Breakfast Club. That's presented by OB Stillwell about every quarter. It's held at the Shoe, which is in the recruiting room there. That's really cool. But OB does a phenomenal job of really attracting people from all over the Central Ohio area. The panel discussion was focused on the impacts of Intel, what communities are doing to prepare for that, what challenges we see. In addition to myself, the mayors from New Albany, Johnstown, and Buckeye Lake participated in the panel, as well as Crawford Hoying, and a woman by the name of Betsy Goldstein, who previously was with M&A Design and is now actually has her own consulting firm, and she is assisting many communities throughout Licking County, Franklin County, and around the Central Ohio region, talking about Intel and talking about how communities can best prepare for that. So it was a great conversation. We went well beyond our supposed ending time because there were so many good questions that were being asked. So thanks to Mr. Stillwell for the invitation to participate and for leading such an important discussion. I want to share that next Tuesday, August 1, is our National Night Out. That is an annual community building campaign that promotes police and community partnerships and neighborhood camaraderie, all with the spirit of making our communities safer and more caring places to live. That event will be held, I believe, 5 to 8 p.m. At Sunpoint Park again. I know there's vehicles there. It's one of Chief's favorite events of the year, but I know our officers look forward very much to that event. It gives them a chance to engage with the children of our community and adults, and you just get to see people in a relaxed environment. And I, again, know that's something our division looks forward to a great deal. And I know you mentioned the concert at Headley Park on August 5th. Earlier that morning, we will have the return of the annual car show, the Capitol, that's put on by the Capitol Corvette folks. So that will be down at the Creekside District. I think that runs from 11 to 5 p.m. So great Saturday. You could go down, check out the cars, and then take in some symphony music in the evening. So lots of great things happening in Gahanna. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. City Attorney.
Thank you. I have nothing to add.
All right, thank you, sir. Item K, council comment. Ms. Angelou.
Thank you, sir. Kevin Dangle called me the other night, and I'm going to be going to the gobs and gobs of amazing humans on this stage. And if you could see the number of kids that are there for learning how to play their instruments, etc., it's an amazing thing, and I'm going to be there tomorrow. Camp has begun, and I think, Mayor, were you there today?
No, it was not.
Are you going to be there tomorrow?
No, but perhaps later this week.
Okay, just wondered, because I knew that you were going, because Kevin told me that. It looks like a really wonderful thing, and of course, us having spent my whole life in music, I'm looking forward to go seeing those little guys and little girls and all of the wonderful things that they're going to learn. That's all I have. Thank you. Oh, actually, we're going to learn a little bit about NOPEC, hopefully. I'm putting in for potentially some, thank you, Jeremy, by the way, for coming up with some times that we might be able to go over this. It's just something that's been brought to us. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen, but I think we should talk about it. So that's all I have.
Thank you. That's supposed to be a September event. Were you able to line up a speaker?
I put them down as, September 15th, I think. I just did it today.
Okay.
But yeah, I wrote back to the lady who said that she was thinking about August, but I said I thought it would be September.
Okay.
And I think both of them were in September, weren't they?
The 5th and the 18th.
Thank you.
Yeah.
5th. And if those don't work, we'll try another time. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Ms. McGregor.
No comment tonight.
Ms. Bowers?
Yes, thank you. As we have one more meeting left, but this is our last regular council meeting for the month of July, and I just wanted to give a big shout out to Parks and Rec as we wind down Parks and Rec month. My son was attending one of the camps here in Gahanna and had an absolutely wonderful experience. Incredible counselors, really patient with the kids, and I know they've got their hands full. So I really just wanted to thank them for all the work they're doing, not just with that regular programming, but also the special events that are being hosted throughout the city. Thank you to Mrs. Hoffman for the questions. As always, I learn something from you whenever we speak, so I appreciate your time and your involvement in the community. A quick note that just to save the date, the Gahanna Historical Society Founders Day will be on Saturday, August the 12th. So just make sure that you've got that on your radar. And finally, remember that the farmers market is being held weekly on Wednesdays from 4:30 to 7 at the sanctuary and the public lot on High Street. Maybe 4 to 7, I'm sorry. But every Wednesday afternoon, and there are lots of produce vendors and wonderful, wonderful vendors, crafts and foods. So please support the Gahanna Farmers Market. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Padova.
Thank you. Thank you to the mayor for the invitation to the economic development event at ADB Safegate. It seems like that was a long time ago, but I guess we haven't had a regular meeting since then. I was very excited to see the new headquarters at ADB Safegate. It certainly lived up to its expectations. It's a building that I was there for the groundbreaking, and then it seemed like it popped up almost overnight. It was built very quickly, and it is a very large building. But one of my main takeaways was their investment in the art within their space. They pointed out that they specifically hired local artists for all of the artwork in their building, and they didn't want to just order paintings or artwork from Wayfair or Amazon. They wanted to make sure that they were supporting local artists. So I think it shows the importance of art in our community, and also how it ties with economic development, and it's not just painting something on the side of a building, but companies see the value in that too, and making their spaces vibrant where their employees are coming to work every day. So thank you again for the invitation to go to that event, and especially to check out this space. They have, when you walk in and go up the stairs, this huge mural. And I just thought that it was really special that he actually took us over and was like, this is the spot where you have to stand to look at it and get the best view. And he just took so much pride in how that art came to be and where you should stand to look at it. It was very, very cool. So anyone who's able to go to that building, I suggest you do so, because it's a very cool space.
Thank you. Mr. Snetzer.
Nothing this evening, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. I, too, don't have anything to add tonight, so I just want to ask for a motion to adjourn.